Cyberpunk 2077, what was supposed to be our saviour in a world of growing video game drought, unfortunately didn't quite meet the expectations of the hype train that preceded it. So, what happened, where is it, and where is it going? I'm Mantas, and today we're going to look at the sprawling domain of Night City, how it came to be, what issues there were, and how it all came to a tragic release. But also the hope for the future of what possibly could be. Before we start, there is a slight spoiler warning for this video. If you haven't finished Cyberpunk 2077 and aren't aware of certain elements of the story or the ending, then there may be a few spoilers along the way. This might be in the form of commentary or gameplay footage shown on screen, but I'll cover this as we go along. With that out the way, allow me to give you the setting of this tale. Night City is a sprawling megacity controlled by corporations and street gangs. Cybernetics are a much embraced body enhancement within the area and possibly the world it's set in. There's visual elements of austere entropism, colourful kitsch, imposing neo-militarism, and also opulent neo-kitsch. Starting the game, you can choose 3 different pathways, 3 different beginnings. The first one is a nomad. You're part of a clan, which can be considered a family, that roam the areas outside of Night City, looting scrapyards, taking on mercenary jobs, and living the truly free life. The street kid path sees you as a born and bred Night City citizen, so much so that you know the city like the back of your cybernetically enhanced hand. That engrossed in the gang culture and slang and understand the ins and outs of how the power dynamic works. Being a corpo means you're in the top class of Night City, specifically since you work for the Arasaka Corporation. You're fine with the whole the ends justify the means of the harsh corporate world to get what you want. Though battling the eternal politics of corporate life does give you a unique skill of reading between the lines and understanding what people want from you. Now the pathways are intriguing and they all offer you a unique start and experience in the game, and playing through them is definitely interesting, but they all come to the same conclusion eventually. Whichever life path you decide to choose, each one ends up with a compilation cutscene where you and your friend Jackie experience Night City and all the glamour that comes with it before you begin the first mission of the game. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that was produced and developed by gaming legends CD Projekt Red. The faces behind one of the most highly acclaimed games, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, took their first steps and began crafting the game set in the Cyberpunk universe, which was created by Mike Pondsmith. The game was first announced in May 2012 with vague details aside from 5 promises that it was going to be a mature RPG in a realistic, brutal world with a non-linear story, advanced RPG mechanics based on the Cyberpunk tabletop games, character class selection, and a gigantic array of weapons. It was in January of 2013 when Cyberpunk's first teaser trailer was released, featuring a cyborg woman being shot before a slow pan out reveals a sprawling cyberpunk city with a police officer holding this woman at gunpoint. It was at this time that the pre-production had officially begun, with around 50 staff being on the project. Details between 2013 and 2018 are scarce, as the majority of development was focused on their other game, Witcher 3. The development of Witcher 3 definitely did affect Cyberpunk in the long run, such as the story not being as long as the Witcher 3's, as there were supposedly complaints of the length of the story. 2018 saw another trailer be dropped, the first in 5 years. It opens up to a railway map, looking just as confusing as the London Underground, with our main character V explaining how Night City was voted the worst city to live in America. This leads to a scenic view of Night City before showcasing different areas and characters, showing the highly stylistic cyberpunk universe and the nuances of every life path, and the plethora of stuff that can happen in a city riddled with crime, corporate sabotage, and underground cybernetic enhancements. There'll be a link to the trailer down below. Fast forward to 2019 and the official cinematic trailer is shown at E3 2019. And I've got to say, when I saw it I was absolutely stoked. It became the game that I absolutely wanted to have. The promises they made sold everyone the world. There is a spoiler warning, as the 4-minute and 15-second trailer which showcases Night City is linked to one of the in-game missions, though the ending does play out differently. The ending of this trailer plays out, which reveals Johnny Silverhand, aka Keanu Reeves, after which Keanu revealed himself on stage and the infamous "You're breathtaking" meme emerged.
The feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
To follow on with the short timeline that we have, CD Projekt Red told Kotaku that the company's crunch policy is not mandatory, but states, we can never be 200% sure that there won't be some pressure. Fast forward to January 2020 and Adam Kaczynski, President and Joint CEO, states that they're trying to limit crunch as a looming release date of the 4th of June 2020 draws closer. Though issues were present, this is where it really starts to get bad. On the 17th of January 2020, the first delay happens from the 4th of June to the 17th of September as the game required more polish, despite being complete and playable. It's at this time that Project Red tells investors that the multiplayer mode won't be complete until at least 2022, and hint, it's still not here. The 19th of June sees Cyberpunk 2077 get delayed again to the 19th of November 2020, because the game isn't ready yet. Supposedly all the content and gameplay, including cutscenes, skills and items, are all ready to go, but it just needs a little bit more polish. I'm not sure if there is a limit on how much polish you can apply to something. Despite promises of trying to keep crunch far away from the production staff, reports emerge on the 30th of September 2020 that CD Projekt Red will in fact be crunching to complete the game in time for release. Though an email that Bloomberg got does indicate that the extra work will be paid and weekend work will be required. Coming to the end of the 28th of October 2020, Cyberpunk is once again delayed to the 10th of December, which ends up being the final and set release date. Having covered the majority of the production timeline, let's look at some statistics. The game cost around 1.2 billion Polish zloty, or around $313 million to make. By April 2022, the game has in total sold more than 18 million copies worldwide, with the game receiving 8 million pre-orders, of which 74% were digital. Possibly owing to the success of The Witcher 3, this was more pre-orders than The Witcher game. Statements from officials at CD Projekt Red stated that the pre-orders alone recouped the cost of production and the 2020 marketing costs. Within 12 hours of its release, the game had over 1 million concurrent players on Steam. Upon launch, it had the biggest digital launch of all time, selling 10.2 million digital units, grossing $609 million in digital sales as of the 31st of December 2020. But despite the high sales and the unfathomable amount of money that was attained, it wasn't all perfect.
Wake the f*** up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Things seemed great when the game first released. Positive reviews with critics praising Night City and how realistic it was for a futuristic setting, the verticality of the map and how fun the gunplay was, how emotive and expressive all the characters were. The word bland was nowhere to be seen. But for many players of the game, they received pyrite rather than gold. Complaints of faults, bugs, glitches, and even several scenes caused epileptic seizures for some, which caused them to add a warning into the game on top of the end user license agreement. On the 18th of December, just 8 days after the release, Sony pulled the game from the PlayStation Store and offered refunds to those who had bought it, which from my understanding is exceptionally rare and hardly ever done. Bugs are present in every game, there's no denying that. No amount of polish or game testing can remove every single minute bug that may ever come up, and within Cyberpunk this caused some interesting encounters. I'll link a video by Kudos in the description where he plays 10 minutes of Cyberpunk 2077 bugs. To name some of these, you have NPCs smoking pistols instead of cigars, the rail system seemingly going through a building, characters vanishing into thin air, and even clones of NPCs casually strolling all around you. Now you might be thinking to yourself, bugs? Hundreds of bugs in a game on release, how is that possible and how wasn't it picked up by early reviewers? Well, the answer is quite simple. PC. The PC port of the game was by far the most stable version of the game, and I'll give you one guess what version reviewers had the chance to play. Now I'm not saying the PC version was picture perfect, there were flaws present regardless, but the console ports had the worst experience by far. Graphical glitches that made the game unplayable, random crashes that would reset progress, there's honestly far too many to count. I'll include a link in the description for an article by Windows Central in which they detail more of these bugs. To talk about my experience playing the game, I need to say that I pre-ordered the game and played it on the day of release and did what I always do with every new game. I obsess over it. I played it non-stop, done all the side content, and finished the game. 19 days after it was released, there were around 46 hours of playtime before loading back and trying some different endings. I didn't find the game that bad. I didn't get any game-breaking bugs. I had some minor things like police spawning in front of you out of the blue, some exploding cars randomly here and there, and some enemies being stuck in animation loops, but none of it really dampened my experience. Having gotten my brand new 3070 earlier in the year, I was stoked playing my first actual game that had ray tracing in it, of which I'm not really going to count World of Warcraft as having top of the line ray tracing. As far as I can remember, I had a great time. My first playthrough, I chose a corpo life path and got the Panam ending primarily, and I can remember making a conscious decision to not play the game for a while, to wait for updates to see how good the game can become, if it can live up to what the hype train believed it was going to be. There was a big part of me that was hoping that the game would pull a similar Uno reverses to what No Man's Sky did. How the game was received really poorly and all of the broken promises were laid bare, but they put the development in, they put the hours in, and the game is quite fun to play now, and there's hundreds of videos explaining how much better the game is. And from my perspective, I saw Cyberpunk 2077 having this not blank slate, but having a kind of rock bottom that they can only rise up from. The thoughts are clear. CD Projekt Red have just released a game that was beyond hyped, with a big star like Keanu Reeves as a poster boy, and it turned out that the game wasn't as good as the hype train made everyone believe it was going to be, accounting for all the glitches and technical issues. How did CD Projekt Red respond? What did they do to try and fix this? Well, let's start at the beginning, shall we? Right when the game came out. There was a Day Zero patch that seemingly was released to address a large array of these issues. This was roughly around 2 to 3 gigabytes for PC users on the Epic and Steam platforms, and roughly a few hundred megabytes for GOG platform users. Doesn't sound too bad, right? Well, if you didn't preload the game and got the physical box edition, or had the game on Xbox, then you were looking at a hefty 60 to 75 gigabyte download, with PlayStation needing to download the game and update separately, so it ended up being around 110 gigabytes in total for them. Bearing in mind, the final number does include the game, but it's still a hefty number to download a game that you really want to play on release. Seemingly, this was to fix a large number of issues with the game, especially on console, and while we can easily assume it did fix a countless amount of bugs, it didn't stop the console version of the game still being abhorrent to play, and still causing game-breaking bugs to occur. 4 days after the release, on the 14th of December 2020, CD Projekt Red did respond on the official website stating, "We would like to start by apologising to you for not showing the game on base last-gen consoles before it premiered, and in consequence not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase," before going on about how they're going to fix the bugs and crashes and try to improve the overall quality of the game. Promising to release large patches, with the first two coming in January 2021 and February 2021. They did end this note by stating that if people wanted refunds, they will help people recoup their money if they can't seem to get a refund from their platform until the 21st of December 2020. Since that update, there have indeed been numerous hotfixes and patches, which currently the game is up to patch 1.6 at the time of writing this video. When they released their first roadmap for the game, it showed their rough plans between 2021 and 2022, where it states a few hotfixes as well. These hotfixes serve the purpose and add fixes and some free DLC, though I use the term DLC very loosely here. It's certainly nothing to write home about. So this free DLC that was promised is a bunch of different updates. I'll show the different DLC on screen and I'll summarise as I go through the list. The first DLC we have is the alternate Johnny Silverhand appearances. The tag reads, "Johnny Silverhand with a fresh new look." It's the perfect combo of Jingwei elegance and the rebellious chic of Delu's Orphean guitars. True rockstar style to the bone. The second DLC is V's new jackets, which, as the name suggests, it just gives you a few different jackets for the main character to wear. The third DLC is the Archer Quartz Bandit, which is allegedly a iconic car with a soul and enough horsepower to keep any other car in rear view mirrors. The next one that we have is V's new apartments, which adds to the game different apartments in different areas of Night City that you can purchase and customize to whatever way you'd like. I'll show a little gameplay footage of this, as it is a nice cosmetic touch, but it doesn't change the overall gameplay too much. The next one we have is the Budget Arms Guillotine, which I believe is a SMG that's added to the game that you can purchase or find it on the street. So it's a brand new weapon for you to play around with, essentially. The 6th update was a welcome one, but again, mostly cosmetic. But it's the ability to change the appearance of the main character while you're playing the game, which is a good thing for the thematic setting of Cyberpunk, in the sense of appearance isn't final. You can change whatever you want whenever you want. Number 7 is the Johnny Silverhand photo mode, which I believe you can utilize photo mode while you play as Johnny Silverhand. Update number 8 was muzzle brakes, which, as the name suggests, just adds muzzle brakes to guns, which reduces weapon recoil and translates to better gun control and more precision. Update number 9 is the Dara Polytechnic Umbra, of which the description for this DLC states, some people might claim Dara's Polytechnic Umbra is a unwieldy hunk of low-grade alloy that wouldn't last 5 minutes in a real firefight. Those people would be right. And update number 10 came in the form of weapon scopes, which, like the name suggests, adds a different array of Arasaka, Tsunami and Kang Tao scopes that you can customize your guns with. So as you can see, the majority of this DLC was mostly cosmetic and more quality of life changes and helping the customization that Night City would kind of be known for, as opposed to actual expansive content. Though this isn't ruling out all the updates and hotfixes that were being released while this content was coming out. And most recently, as I was writing for this video, they released even more content to coincide with the release of their new anime series, Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This includes content that is seen within the anime, transmog customization, more side missions, an arcade minigame, new melee weapons and firearms, a photo mode and neon rims for motorcycles. This is on top of the hotfixes, and it certainly adds some type of content to the game. I'd say better experience by someone who is fresh to the game and doesn't know what to expect. And you can't blame me for being boring, but when I played Cyberpunk originally, I found strong weapons and ended up using them, hardly deviating from anything else that seemed weaker. But as I was playing the game for this video, I found one of the weapons that is featured in the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime called Guts, and I'll show some gameplay footage on screen now just to show you how powerful it is, especially because you can craft it at a later level, so it's a weapon that scales as you level up. There has been some backlash regarding the earlier updates, as when people think and hear DLC, they expect more content to actually experience and not a cosmetic for a story character, even if they're heavily involved. Though I will say the ability to change your appearance and choose a new apartment does make the game feel a lot more personal and like you're in control of V's life. I did replay the game partially to make this video just so I can go on about what's changed and if anything was notable from my experience the first time. First off, the game definitely feels more alive. The world, Night City itself, feels like there's more characters and the NPCs are actually living their lives with some semblance of meaning. A small example is when I was driving around Night City at night. In a more run-down area, there'd be gangs who had set up a roadblock of burning cars to try and ambush people driving past. You could either ram the roadblock and drive off, or stop and take matters into your own hands. Another example that I'd never seen before is a police car chase that didn't actually involve your character. The NCPD and a gang just bombing it down the road, shooting at each other. It definitely gives you more of an impression of the life inside a Night City and what it feels like to just be a regular resident watching events unfold. A very small but specific note is the effect that the game has with built-in Razer Chroma support. making my Razer keyboard light up to certain cues in the game. The title screen has the colours of the main logo on my keyboard, and when I use my Cyberpunk eyes, the keyboard glows red and green. Though small and obviously not accessible to everyone if they don't have a Chroma device, I thought it was still a nice touch that adds to the immersion of the game overall. I would definitely say the game has improved. It's not perfect, though what game is perfect? There were occasional odd things that struck me, such as duplicate NPCs standing right next to each other, so NPCs pulling a carton of fries from their backside, and the occasional crash. I think I probably crashed twice out of the dozen or so times that I played the game to make the video, so it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be, and even then my progress wasn't set back due to the game's autosave. Especially with the Edgerunner update coming out as I was writing this video, I'd say now is a great time to try the game again, if you didn't have an amazing time when it first released. From countless bug fixes, and the new update adds some Easter eggs from the anime that recently released, which I'd suggest you watch as it is pretty good. I can't speak for the state of the game on consoles as I don't have it on console, but from doing research there should be a big console update coming in the near future, so you can definitely expect to see a rise in popularity once that's finalised, and I'd definitely suggest playing the game then when the update comes out on console. The future of a game like Cyberpunk is something that no one can predict, or even try to guess what would happen. Sure, the easiest thing would have been to jump ship and cut the game off, accepting it for what it was, but when you have stories like No Man's Sky being reborn into a better game, why would you? If CD Projekt Red hadn't tried to fix the game or just left it in limbo, chances are their reputation would have been tarnished a lot more than just releasing a buggy game. The game is more stable now, truly, and I'd recommend you play through it at least to see what you think of it. Choosing a starting life path will give you some exposure to the game, and even completing the first mission will kind of give you the overall feel for what the game could be. In April, CD Projekt Red opened up about the further future of the game and their production plan overall, especially including the game's first expansion DLC, which will allegedly launch in 2023. They said that we should expect more details later this year, and at the time of writing this video, they released a trailer showcasing the new DLC, Phantom Liberty. Link down below. Someone from the CD Projekt Red team did state that Phantom Liberty is currently the only planned major expansion for the game, and what I may suspect be a case of they need to see if people actively play the game and the expansion to experience the content to decide if they should make more, but again, that is just my personal speculation. Another thing mentioned on the production plan is the new Witcher game, which is confirmed to be built on the Unreal 5 engine, so I heavily expect that to start taking up the majority of CD Projekt Red's time. Don't get me wrong, while the game is in pre-production, I imagine the majority of the workforce will still be on Cyberpunk, but that may explain why there is only one currently planned project. To summarise, in my eyes, the future of Cyberpunk is looking hopeful. From what was a messy and seemingly chaotic release, they have definitely pulled something out of the bag. They've took the release of the game to learn lessons and hopefully improve their process for future games, to know what to do and what not to do. And I'm going to sit here and hope that Phantom Liberty will be a saving grace for the game. The trailer looks nice, flashy, and offers plenty of mystery and intrigue, with V swearing an oath to the United States, with Keanu Reeves, aka Johnny Silverhand, stating, "Taking that oath, bad idea." I've had a really good time and experience replaying the game, honestly. When I first started making this video, I said to myself that I'd only focus on the main story whilst replaying the game. But the more I focused on the story, the more I wanted to explore Night City, to do all the side jobs, or biz as the main character says, to see what was out there and experience the game fully again with a fresh set of eyes. First of all, I want to say thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video then please do like and subscribe to, help that YouTube algorithm. But I've got plenty of ideas for what the next video is going to be, so keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to try and make these videos as and when I can, hopefully moving up to a proper release schedule eventually, but for now, thanks for watching and see you next time.